I think we might finally be getting there, folks. Rhystic Study looks to be in the crosshairs of at least the Commander Advisory Committee and some of the Rules Committee folks. Tim Willoughby, one of the CAG members on Twitter, posted a thread on May 8th asking what changes people would like to see in the format. And I posted here, as you can see, I would like to see Rhystic Study and Dockside Extortionist banned. I want to see a lot more than that, but that's just in a single tweet. I put that, and then I said something about splitting the format. That's not going to be for this video. But Rhystic Study was also mentioned by Sam Black, and Sam Black says, I suggest there is a good reason that ban Rhystic Study is the least hot take possible. And I tend to agree with that because even though I mentioned in a previous video that I might ban something like Constant Mists, I think that Rhystic Study is actually even worse. Now here's Constant Mist. So this card here is a problematic card. It's too powerful for casual, not good enough for CEDH or competitive or high power. I don't play CEDH, but I assume they don't play a whole lot of Constant Mists. Maybe they do. But in any case, this card here sits in an awkward position. Rhystic Study is played in 29% of all registered EDH rec decks that could play blue. And I've said this before, but this is an undercount. This should be in 100% of all blue decks. If you are not playing Rhystic Study, you are playing the game wrong. This card draws you more cards than anything I've ever seen. This is the strongest blue spell, the strongest blue card draw spell ever printed in EDH, bar none, by far. It is stronger than Ancestral Recall. It is stronger than Library of Alexandria. It's stronger than every card draw you can imagine in Commander, because people do not pay the one. And sometimes they do, but even if they do it half the time, this triggers on every spell. Rhystic Study says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. This, for 3 mana, it not only does it draw too many cards, but it slows the game down. And there's a good example of Wizards themselves banning based on gameplay actions taking too long. And Sensei's Divining Top was banned in 2017. This is just an article I pulled up. And the necessity of repeated top activations to play the card slows down the match play and leads to tournament delays. Coupled with the power of the deck, it's enough reason to ban the top. So that's the exact reasoning that I would use to ban Rhystic Study. And the reason that I think that the Rules Committee and Tim Willoughby might be edging toward a Rhystic Study ban is that he posted this poll actually today on the day of recording, and it says, what is the biggest issue with Rhystic Study? The number of cards it draws, do you pay the 1, Therese Nielsen art, or shows up too much? And you can see the percentages here. The interesting thing about this, and I think the canary in the coal mine, I don't know if that's the correct usage of the term, but the tinfoil hat theory I have is that he used Therese Nielsen art as an example of a reason or an issue with Rhystic Study. And I think this might be, and this is just pure speculation on my part, this might be them looking for more reasons to potentially ban the card down the road. Because art itself, well, it may be, so, okay, here we go. Well, a card like Invoke Prejudice, this has, very problematic art. The art on this card is a problem and should be banned based on that. However, the art on Rhystic Study is just regular art. The problem is with the artist, Therese Nielsen. She said some things that were not good, and I disagree with those things that she said, I think. I don't know the full details of it, but in any case, people don't like her thoughts on certain topics. And I if you want to learn about it, click on it on your own time. But in any case, let's just say that the artist is not a liked individual and they did a bad thing. Okay, that is not a reason to ban a card, because then by that logic, the Rules Committee would have to ban dozens more cards. Seb McKinnon, Noah Bradley, Therese Nielsen, a bunch of other artists who have had problems with their outside of Magic either commentary or actions. And so this art comment here, or option, is to me, that's showing them. It's showing that they're looking at Rhystic Study. And so I commented here, the art's not a non-factor. A couple people agreed. And so Sam Black again comments that equally, number 1 and 2, the power and the gameplay, which slows the game down, needs attention and exchange, resolving. How far you're willing to go back to catch up the trigger. That, like, this trigger by itself is the problem. It's not just that it draws infinite cards. Like, I put this down one time and I blatantly put a die on Rhystic Study. I've played this with my main play group, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm just gonna put a die on here and count how many cards I draw. I had to get another 20-sided die. Like, I think I drew 15 cards off it, and then I stopped counting, and it was like, and maybe that's just my play group. We were being a little bit fast and loose with it, so maybe we should have paid 1. But in any case, maybe we were being half responsible. I still would have drawn like 7-8 cards off it for 3 mana. That's way too good. Now the issue though is the trigger. You have to ask, as the controller of Rhystic Study, you have to ask, do you pay the 1? Because it is not worded the same as Smothering Tithe. I think this is how it works. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If they don't, you create a treasure token. Rhystic Study reads, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. And I think the way the rules work is that you have to ask. And then Smothering Tithe is different because they have to volunteer the 2 mana. And so, also, nobody pays 2 mana on Smothering Tithe. I don't think I've ever seen a single player pay 2 mana to stop Smothering Tithe. This is also a design mistake. It should have been unless they pay 1. Smothering Tithe also should have cost an extra white mana to cast, like 2 white, for example. But in any case, Rhystic Study is, you as the player, you do have to ask them, do they pay the 1? And so this slows the game down. With every single spell cast, you are slowing the game down. This is such a problematic card, because the other thing with Rhystic Study is that you cannot, I'm navigating to the ban list here, you cannot, with Rhystic Study, play this in any way that would be a casual way. It is powerful in CEDH. It's powerful in casual commander, in mid-level, in battlecruiser. In any way you play it, it's powerful. It draws cards. It slows the game down. And I'm just going to compare it to some previously banned cards. So Ancestral Recall, 1 mana, draw 3. Now, this was an optics level, power level ban, which is funny because there are other cards that cost a lot of money in US dollars, and they have not banned those. But that beside the point, it's a perceived barrier to entry, so it's originally banned for poor optics rather than power level. Okay, so they think Ancestral Recall is not too powerful. If it was printed today, they would allow it, presumably based on this reasoning. I don't know if that's true, but let's assume so. Library of Alexandria, also a perceived barrier of entry, and then they said that it was strong enough without the optics, especially in long games where the card draw yields inevitability over time. Combined with allowing it to go into every deck, inexperienced players will not realize that the library is the reason they're losing, and that is why it is on the ban list. So this reasoning also applies to Rhystic Study, because Rhystic Study is in every blue. It should be in every blue deck. If you're not playing it in the blue deck, you're wrong. You're wrong. And so, like, I know. Look, Commander is a casual format. You're technically not wrong for playing any card or not playing any card. But if you want the most card draw, you play Rhystic Study. And so, Library is much weaker than Rhystic Study. Much weaker. You need to have like a full grip, and then you can draw a 7 or a card with Library. Okay, fine. A weaker Rhystic Study. I can see it for the monetary reason, though. Panoptic Mirror. They banned this one because it can grind the game to a halt and yield insurmountable advantage and lock up the game. Rhystic Study, similar effect. It doesn't lock up the game, but it takes too much time. Panoptic Mirror. Okay. Yawgmoth's Bargain. This might be the strongest comparison, I think. Yawgmoth's Bargain abuses commander higher life totals, making the life payment essentially trivial. Okay, irrelevant to Rhystic Study. It, too, easily allows for access to a large portion of one's deck, check, that is Rhystic Study, without having to guess how far you need to go, and leaves the mana up for casting cards drawn right away. Rhystic Study. Rhystic Study is better than Yawgmoth's Bargain. This is half the mana cost of Yawgmoth's Bargain. Now, yeah, you can, and that's a hot take to say it's better than Yawgmoth's Bargain, because Yawgmoth's Bargain, you can play it and instantly draw 39 cards, if you haven't gained any life and lost any life. Okay, but Rhystic Study, you pay 3 mana. You're paying half the cost. You're getting the cards. You don't skip your draw step. You're getting the cards as people play the game. You're slowing the game down, et cetera, et cetera. So Rhystic Study, I think, compares to these cards I've highlighted here. Shivam on May 1st posted a Commander health check time. People talked about it. People had various opinions. They said the ban list is a joke because there's a lot of Rule 0 difficulties that people are complaining about. Let's see here. So, yeah, Dana Roach thinks it's pretty good except for powerful commanders. Retired Mage says, I wish I saw more cards designed for multiplayer and less generic value cards. I'm a big fan of cards like these. So this is a generic value card, Rhystic Study, and it was designed before multiplayer in Prophecy. So look, going to the original printing, Prophecy, this was what, 1999? Or no, 2000, I think. The year 2000. And so this was designed with 1v1 in mind, I think, although there was multiplayer casual back then, but it was not Commander. So, yes. So you have various other posts here. The power level's higher, and it seems trivial to actually present game-ending threats. Despite a massive card pool, creativity is at an all-time low. Cards and commanders are too efficient. Rhystic Study lowers creativity. Rhystic Study is an auto-include, and so therefore your deck is 99 cards now. 98 cards with Soul Ring, 97 with Arcane Signet, 96 with Command Tower, etc. So like Rhystic Study is just such a problem. It's I'm like very passionate about this. If I could ban a single card, it would be Rhystic Study. And I think Tim Willoughby at least is starting to catch on. And I know the rules committee. I know Shivam is aware of this. I know he's on the CAG, I think, but I know that people on the rules committee. Let's scroll down. So nope. Here we go. Rules committee. Well, it was formerly Sheldon. So Scott Larrabee, Toby Elliott, Gavin Duggan, Sheldon Menery. Now Sheldon has passed. Rest in peace. But I think these people are all aware of the issues with the Rhystic Study. So let's go back over to talk about the rules committee here. So the goal of the ban list is not to regulate competitive play or power level. The ban list seeks to demonstrate which cards threaten the positive player experience at the core of the format or prevent players from reasonable self-expression. Rhystic Study does all of the above. Rhystic Study it threatens the player experience because what you're doing is, like, as with Library of Alexandria, right? You are getting an insurmountable card advantage lead with Rhystic Study. People, especially inexperienced players, do not look at your hand when they look at who is the threat. They look at the green player with their Worm Coil engine or whatever in play, and they say, oh, that player's the threat. Not seeing the Rhystic Study player with a Reliquary Tower and 20 cards in hand, about to win the game next turn. Or maybe not even next turn, maybe 2 turns, 3 turns, but they're going to win. And so reasonable self-expression, Rhystic Study lowers that as well because it slows down the game. It makes people either they're paying the 1 mana or they're giving you an insurmountable card advantage. There's no winning in that. It's either a stacks piece or a draw your whole deck piece. And so these other reasons for banning, I think these are old reasons because the current philosophy document shows something different. Let's see. Commander ban philosophy. Here we go. So this is the current document, and they updated this a while ago. I had a video on it. But in the previous philosophy document, they said that the reasons for banning, which conclude these and other reasons, are the cards could cause severe resource imbalance, allow players to win out of nowhere, prevent players from contributing to the game in a meaningful way, cause other players to feel they must play certain cards, Rhystic Study, even though they're also problematic, are very difficult for other players to interact with, especially if doing so requires narrow responses. Arguably, it's an enchantment. Interact poorly with multiplayer nature of the format and specific rules of Commander. Multiplayer Rhystic Study is crazy because it was designed for single player. And it leads to repetitive gameplay. I think Rhystic Study fits every single one of these criteria. Now, these are old criteria, and it's maybe not, it doesn't prevent players from playing the game. You don't have to pay the 1. You can just let the other player draw infinite cards, and you can play your own game, but you're probably going to lose. So these reasons alone, even if they're a little bit obsolete, a little bit outdated, are just more than enough to ban this card. This card should have been banned at the start of the format, really. It should have been banned when the rules committee was created. Like, this is worse than most of the cards on the ban list. Like, this is worse than the Power 9. This is worse than Falling Star, Coalition Victory. The card is just like, and the thing is this, because like it's a poison pill. It's like Golos, right? Golos was too good to be true. Rhystic Study is too good to be true. Players cannot help but put this card in their deck. And I think we're finally starting to get there. I think the RC and the CAG are finally starting to slowly consider it. I don't have any information. This is speculation on my part, but the fact that they have a poll on it, the fact that people have commented, and there's 1,000 votes on this poll, like there's, and this is just a CAG member, right? The CAG members don't actually have the power to ban anything. They can just discuss with the rules committee, and so. They have a 4,000 word document. They're talking about random things. I also want to mention this. I think that there's an issue, and part of the reason why Rhystic Study has not been touched yet, I think, in tinfoil hat, is that content creators, such as the Command Zone, have popularized it. And so, I'll just type in Command Zone here. Okay, here we go. Command Zone. This is the channel that plays Rhystic Study in, I would say, the majority of their games, or at least every game that Josh Lee Kwai is involved. And look, I love Josh Lee Kwai. I love Jimmy. I love this channel. Everybody should subscribe. But Rhystic Study it's too addictive for them. Like, they can't get themselves off it. And they've even said that they've house banned or soft banned certain cards like Dockside Extortionist. In a recent episode, they mentioned that. Constant Miss, cards like Great Pact that make it hard for them to edit. Rhystic Study, I mean, it fits all of those criteria, but they just love it so much. And this is why I think Rhystic Study should be banned, even above Dockside, above Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt is way too strong, but Rhystic Study, it's so tempting. Players cannot stop it. The sugar rush is just insane. And so when you have content creators popularizing it, when you have wizards printing it a bunch of times in Secret Lairs or in Jumpstart, I get why they're doing it. They're trying to sell packs. They're trying to make money. But when you have this churn of content and card reprints, then it becomes harder to ban the card. And I can see why the Rules Committee has not touched it yet. So this is a very long-winded video. I just feel so strongly about this. Yeah. I think, like, here's my thought on it. If Rhystic Study were printed today, what do you think it would cost with the same text on it? This is my version of it. It would cost 5 mana. It would be 2 color, and to do the same thing. And even this version, even this card, how often do you think this card would be played? Every white-blue deck would play this card. This is still insane. But like, this is a more reasonable cost for this type of effect. And this is just spitballing. I just threw this design out there. I didn't do a lot of thought on it. But this goes to my point. The card is too ubiquitous. It's monocolor. It's overly powerful. It slows the game down. It violates just every reason that a card would be banned. It is stronger than almost every card on the ban list, arguably, because it's not toxic in the same way that a card like Arayo Soratami Ascendant is. It is not toxic, or it's not boring like Biorhythm where you play it once and you get bored. It's not stacksy like Braid's Cabal Minion, and this is kind of a commander ban, but just, for the example, it is a stacks card. It's a very light, more like a tax. I mentioned stacks in the other video. I meant to say tax. So like anything where you pay mana is more of a tax than a stacks. But tax is a stacks if you think about it. So the thing with this is, like, Rhystic Study, it's insidious. It gets past these obviously overpowered or unfun cards like here we go, Coalition Victory. Balance, destroying a bunch of lands. Where is the other one here? Iona, an obviously unfun card. People, Hull Breacher, another blue card, right? This card got banned quickly, and it stopped people from playing the game. It's obviously an unfun card. Rhystic Study is not obviously unfun. It's insidious. It sucks away our time. It it reduces deck building diversity. It's overly powerful. It makes us worse as players. You don't have to think when you play this card. You don't have to strategize. You don't have to try. You're not proving anything when you play Rhystic Study. You're just putting in a powerful card, and herder, I drew 15 cards. I slowed the game down by 15 minutes. I did the same thing that I did last game. This is the ultimate bannable card, Rhystic Study. So what do you guys think in the comments? Do you think Rhystic Study should be banned? Do you think all the copies in the world should be thrown into a landfill and set on fire? That's my vote, but what does everybody think? Am I too harsh? Should it not be banned? Should we all be forced to play it with our eyes peeled open? What do you guys think in the comments? Let me know.